your tire lever and kind of press the flat tire down into the center of the rim to make it have a looser fit, and come around to a spoke that's on the same side so you can hook your tire lever onto it. Pull the tire back, work the tire lever under the bead and hook it over on the spoke. Then you can come get another tire lever and do the same thing. And generally 2 is enough to loosen the tire enough to be able to slide it off all the way around so that the tire is free. Reach in, pull the tube out, and then you kind of pull the tire back, pull it out at the valve stem. Sometimes you need to push it out. There you go. So when you remove the tube from the tire, it's good to keep it in the same orientation so that you can put some air in it and check around for the puncture. And if you find the puncture, then you line it back up and look at that place in the tire. On the tube and find our hole, thumbtack size, and you can often just hear it. Put your finger on it, look for other holes, and it can be handy to mark the hole with a Sharpie so you can find it later. Patch kit, and get the parts that we're going to need out of it. So your sandpaper, glue, and an appropriately sized patch. This is a small hole, so we're going to use a small patch. You'll let all the air out of your tube and find your hole where you've marked it, and you're going to rough up the tube there and really get it real roughed up, going both ways across the tube with your sandpaper. And if it's on a join in the tube, you really want to make sure you try to get next to that well so that the air doesn't just leak out underneath the patch along that line. Then you're going to take your glue, open it if need be, spread some on the area about as large as the patch. You don't need a ton, just a very light coating is enough. Put the top back on. Most glue, you need to let it sit for a few minutes. This latest version of the Tip Top says you don't need to. Just put the patch on there and press it down very firmly, starting from the inside and working your way out. Using a tire lever can be a good way to go too. And again, just move it from the inside to the outside to really just press that patch on there really, really firmly. And work out all the little air bubbles it might have. Just make sure it's really firmly attached. You can do this and then let it sit for 5, maybe 10 minutes, and just leave the little plastic cover on because it helps it slide in the tire more easily, and it'll just make sure that the patch stays attached to the tube better. Tube in, you're going to check the inside of the tire really carefully, hopefully with gloves on, for any sharp objects that might puncture the new tube. And look around the outside of the tire to see if there are any thorns that you can see from the outside but couldn't feel from the inside, and make sure to get any of that stuff out. Tire for the size, and I've found the appropriate tube. Take the tube, take the valve cap off, put a little bit of air in it, just so it barely holds its shape. And then I'm going to find where the valve goes, insert that, and then work the tire over it and work the tube around into the tire. The tube sitting in your tire, you're going to start opposite the valve stem and just use your thumbs to push the bead over the rim and work in opposite directions down toward the valve stem. And you'll get to a point where it's going to be hard to keep going. And at that point, come down to the opposite side and push the tire down into the rim just to make it fit a little bit more loosely. And then you can push the tire over that last little bit. Once you get it all the way on, you want to just kind of wiggle your valve stem a little bit just to make sure nothing's bunched up in there. And you can check here to make sure there isn't tube pinched underneath the tire on either side. We're looking good. Is to put your pump on, make sure the valve is straight in the rim, not tweaked at an angle, and inflate it. You've got your tire inflated, you can just put your wheel back in, hold the quick release, tighten the nut on the other side until the cam starts to engage. When the lever is parallel with the hub, tighten it, come up to the brake, hold the arm, connect it in there, seat the boot, you're good to go.